Hello, everybody. I'm CJ. I'm in my apartment in Shreveport, Louisiana. I have a little kitchenette that I cook. I have a little kitchenette. I don't have a big kitchen in my apartment. But yeah, what I'm doing is this very keto friendly recipe. Um, and I'm going to tell you about it. See, some time ago, maybe, I guess it must have been uh, 2.5 years ago, give or take. I don't know. Uh, I mean, really, I forget the exact date, but I was diagnosed with uh, diabetes type 2. And I kind of was given kind of a dietary guideline from the clinic. Uh, but it was like, if if this difference that's pushing me over the edge is like 10, 15 pounds, I think, I can lose the 10 or 15 pounds rather than, uh, you know, uh, pursue or go on, uh, becoming, sicker. Because that's what happens when you don't treat diabetes. I'm pretty, you can maintain it and everything like that, but I'm kind of like an all or nothing kind of guy, So I was either going to just, cave in and give in and think, oh my God, this is where the beginning ends, or I was going to, start doing something differently. And so I did a lot of looking around and asking around, and I decided that for me, and I looked at my taste. For the foods that I liked, and I looked at my lifestyle and everything. I decided that switching to a ketogenic diet, which is, I love it. Uh, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy, and the big switch is that most of the time I leave out the potatoes. So that means I can have chicken. That means I can have pork. I can have beef. I can have fish, lamb, whatever. Cheeses are really good. There's not really additional carbs in those kind of things, and so yeah, most of the time I do not eat carbs. If I go out to a restaurant now, I'll try to consider that, And then at first, I also reduced. I was working on reducing, and I have reduced. And then I switched my, sodas. I went to a diet like Coke Zero is my soda of choice. I can't quite give up the carbonation. I'll work on at least reducing it because overall it's better. But yeah, so just to let you know, when I did that, the first thing I did was I switched, and it took about 3 days to get used to Coke Zero from drinking regular Cokes. And now my taste, I actually prefer Coke Zero, and I find that Cokes, regular old Cokes, the original Cokes that they say is the original recipe, I don't know. What I can tell you is that it's too sweet for my palate now. So my palate has changed and I've gotten unused to sweetness. Okay, so I'm more prone to savory anyway. I never was a big dessert person, so that wasn't a big thing. There are some people who love sweets and desserts, and it's hard for them to give up on that. And I stopped eating basically, just for the fuck of it. You know what I mean? You know that what I'm talking about, that bored eating. That, oh gee, I'm a little bored. And then what I did was I actually broke down my portions into smaller portions, and I eat. Um, if I'm eating a larger portion, I will eat one main uh, meal of that. Most of the time, I try to have smaller portions, and I really do try to break it through the day because we have Americans. We don't have a lifestyle that it's like uh, three meals and some snacks and all that kind of good stuff. We don't really have that. We have a on the go lifestyle, or a quick thawed out and freeze it lifestyle. And there's processed. There's salts that retain water, which add on fat, and there's extra sugars to make it hidden, to make even the savory foods taste more inviting so that we'll return to that product and everything like that. And then there's the eating out culture that we're on the go, we're eating out all the time, and they they overserve because they can, they need to make money and they need to charge, they need to charge prices to stay in business. So it's best to eat several small portions throughout the day rather than big meals. But if you're gonna have a big meal, then you know, uh, have smaller snacks throughout the day. Instead of don't have 2 to 3 big meals. Don't have a big breakfast and a somewhat big lunch and then a huge dinner all in one day. That's the kind of stuff that gets us in trouble. But let me get to this recipe. It's keto. And it's not anything that I looked up. It's just something that I threw together. So, um, the potatoes. There's two cans of potatoes. One is the sliced, and one are the cubed. It's just what I had in the pantry. You can use all sliced, or you can use all cubed. Uh, the new potatoes, the canned new potatoes, or you can cut them up yourself. It's probably better. There's probably like less sodium, but these are like low sodium options. So there's also uh, low sodium beef broth. I'll get to it. Let me get to the recipe. I put in about 1.5 pounds of ground beef, about a pound of pork sausage, which probably it has, and I did that to kind of flavor the beef and everything like that, and to give a little bit of uh, sauciness, a little fat to the pan. And then I poured in uh, probably about a tablespoon of dried chives and 2 tablespoons of dried onions that you would just get off of any dried spice rack. Okay, there's no additional salt because there's salts all the way through some of this stuff. Like for instance, there's 32 ounces of aside from and I put the fluid from the potatoes in this because the starches from the potatoes and the fluid and everything like that will help this get a little thicker when I turn it off and I let it rest for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so what's going to happen? Well, what I did was I poured just as I gave you the meat, and then I browned it, and then when it became brown, then I put and I didn't worry about draining it because I was going to put more oils and fats in it, and it's I kind of want that. And there's no carbs in that, so it didn't hurt. And if you're struggling with heart issues, you want to reduce, you want to drain off your fats, and maybe you want to leave off the use water instead of the amount of 32 ounces of beef. But I did. So you would put in about 32 ounces of water. But anyway, let me get back to it. I'm going to give you the recipe that I did, and then I'll come back and give the notations about it. 1.5 pounds of beef, a pound of browning breakfast sausage, old folk sausage, country time sausage, anything like that, that comes in a tube. Brown those up. 2 standard cans of new potatoes, either whole, sliced, or chunked. Then about a tablespoon of dried chives, about 2 tablespoons of dehydrated onions, about maybe a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and not ground red pepper flake. And then, because there's a difference in how it affects the food, and because of that, I left out any black pepper. I didn't feel it was necessary. Then, as I stirred into that, I poured in 32 ounces of beef broth, and then probably about a teaspoon of a product that I love called Kitchen Bouquet, it's a reduction of juices from all your aromatics. Your celery, your onion, anything that you would think of in mirepoix, or your Trinity if you're Cajun and you want to use the term Trinity. But anything, there's reduced cabbages and everything like that. And so it's all kind of it's all taken out, brown, caramelized, and reduced, and put in this little bitty bottle. And you can put as much or as little as you need in your skillet when you're doing, your pot, or you're doing something like that. It's really, really great. Because it really wakes up the flavors of these other foods without covering it up, without going too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe let this go on for another. I love a good, rolling boil on something like this because it really wakes up my appetite. And then what I'm going to do from that is turn it off after about another 10 minutes. So I started this recording as soon as I got the ingredients in, and we had just gotten to a boil, and then I started this video, and so you can have seen the reduction in the thickness just as we've talked, and this looks great. It's a variation. You put whatever kind of vegetables that you want into it, but what I was doing is I wanted to do something that was keto. These potatoes, there's only per can. I think there's about 42 calories per can, and there's about 3 servings of the potatoes in the can. None of the rest. I think there's one serving, like maybe like 6 or 7 grams within the broth that I poured in, but none of the other ingredients have carbs. So per serving of this, which is a nice bowl of it, you're not going to exceed your carb for the meal. So maybe I'm on a 50 carb a day. So I literally could eat about half of this and not exceed my carbs for the day. Half of this skillet I could in one day. But it's better to eat smaller portions, and I won't eat this all in one day. I'll eat 1 or 2 bowls, and then I'll have and smaller portions, you know what I mean? And then throughout the day, if I want to have a little snack or a little fork or something like that, if you want more food on your plate, then you actually can have a salad or some greens on the side of this with a keto-friendly, dressing. That's a very low sugar, low carb dressing. You could do, raw vegetables, carrot celeries or something like that. I'm not a big vegetable person. Now, if you wanted this a little bit thicker, which I'm fine with this because I know that it's going to thicken up due to the starch of the potatoes as soon as I take it off. But if you wanted to, you could put a little bit of roux. That is probably equal portions. Maybe you want to say maybe a tablespoon of flour and a tablespoon of some sort of fat browned in the skillet. Either you take the meats out of this and use the same skillet, or you do it in another skillet or whatever. But you have to really, that adds another 20 minutes. Also, it's really going to be unnecessary. I'm not looking for a gravy type texture. If you had some mushrooms, you could throw some mushrooms in here. If you want to put a little bit of cream in here, of course you want to watch in anything that you add. You want to check the label. You want to see what carbs are naturally occurring. That will affect your carb count if you're doing a keto. So most days I don't eat additional carbs. And I tell you, it makes a difference. And there are sometimes, when I may be 1 or 2 days where I'm busy, or there may be I got to go to a kid's birthday party tomorrow, and there will be cake, and I will be able to have the cake and some ice cream if I want, because I have really been careful about my carbs. Last week I went out. There was a drum circle, and at the drum circle they had, hot dogs and chips and things like that. And that was last Thursday. So it was about a week and a day ago. And I was able to have hot dogs and chips and not feel guilty and not think that I'm screwing my diet over because I've been really, really good with my carbs. If I, if I do go out to a restaurant, say I want to go out to the Golden Corral or something like that, and I want to just like tear that buffet up, I mostly make good choices at something like that and stick with the meats and try to stick with the less breaded kind of stuff. But yeah, if I want to tear it up, I can do it because that's not my lifestyle. That's not my daily diet, uh, and it's okay, And I don't feel like I'm hurting myself. And these things are individual to the person too. The government, we used to have that pyramid graph on the food that we need, and the government has since broken it down to you can look on their dietary websites, whatever, recommended daily allowance of food or whatever. You can find it if you Google long enough. It's called MyPlate, and it actually will break down uh, the plate portions that the individual will need, taking in consideration dietary needs and the lifestyle. And it gives quite a few options, such as if you're more of a clean veggie eater, you can eat a tremendous amount of food, probably more than, let's just say it takes a lot of lettuce to get you filled up, bro. So yeah. And then, so I'm a meat eater, so my portions are a little bit less. But I still get plenty because I'm not eating empty carbs. I'm not eating sugar. Uh, and anything like that I do eat, it's an exception, not my daily rule. You know, so I don't have a candy bar snack every day or whatever. Yeah, because I'm not like you know a 7-year-old that lives on sugar. So. Uh, Yeah, and potatoes, eaten in moderation, uh, do not kick you out of a keto mode, a keto diet. Uh, and every once in a while, you will need to do something like this. It's dependent upon, because what will happen if you're in ketosis, that's okay because that's where you're reducing, but you want to be careful that you don't do that too long, too many days in a row, so that you don't end up having a ketoacidosis. I actually, I don't know what happened. There was one instance, maybe about a year and a half ago, shortly after I really. I'd been doing the keto for a while, and I thought I knew some stuff, and I really went too long without eating, and my blood sugar dipped. And the result of that prolonged is that it can affect if you don't eat properly. This is what's important about nutrition in America too. While we want to feed uh, make sure that our citizens are getting fed and everything, just humankind in general. Because if you don't have proper nutrients, you get confused. And I literally had some confusion. I mean, I had it was almost a dementia-like confusion. Like I felt it. And then, of course, I was able to eat, and as soon as I ate, my temperament calmed down. I cleared up. I got to thinking, okay, that's not a myth. So do stay nutriented. Uh, Keep your nutrition up. If you're going to do something like this, a good daily vitamin, I'd recommend it. Uh, I'd recommend a good daily vitamin anyway. I think it's essential for physical development. I think even in teens and everything like that, especially in the development years, it's essential to have some vitamins. You know, Supplements that we don't always get. We're because knowing now more than what we did in the 80s, where everything was really fast, and it was the microwave generation and everything. And, you know, both parents working. Sometimes there was one parent in the home uh, that had to work, and so sometimes there was no one. So it really was kind of you know, just eat whatever you could get your hands on sometimes. Not that we did without food, but that was just a lifestyle for a lot of us. And so, uh, do we know better now? So don't forget, if you got kids out there, get them those vitamins and everything like that. So, uh, and today we live in a an American society where American citizens in particular, uh, you can get, at least for the children, you can get that health care and get them to it. It's there for a reason. Anyway, yeah, this food is going to be so delicious. If you want to, you could throw some mushrooms in here, like I said, throw a little cream in it or whatever, turn it into a potato stroganoff, you know. Or if you didn't want to use potatoes, you could use egg noodles, and you could really have a true stroganoff. Of course, this is like I said, it's a beef, but I also put some sausage into that pork sausage to really liven up that flavor. It's really important if you're going to do keto that you choose flavors that kind of reduce. And I didn't even think about it on the label. Hold on one second. I'll come back and let you know. So, there are 0 grams of carbs in that tube of sausage, and it's a mild breakfast sausage. And it's Old South. You can get Down Home. You can get Jimmy Dean. Any of that. You know what I mean? You just want to check your grams. I'm gonna imagine that most of them will have like the same nutritional content. So this is mild, and you know that's one of the reasons why I added the, because I like a little bite to mine. That's why I added the, it's not mild anymore because I put those red flakes in. Okay, let me end this. I've gone on just over 20 minutes. And then what I'll do is, I'm going to set this over and let it cool. Turn this off. I love you guys. I just wanted to do a food video. I do so much video looking out my window or walking around town or whatever. So I want to encourage. And this isn't the healthiest meal in the world, but it's certainly in keeping with my keto lifestyle. And that is something that can help people who have found out that they are diabetic, later in life, rather than being born diabetic. And when you're diabetic, your diabetes can go into remission. They said it was reversible at the clinic. That's lovely. The term is actually remission. So my type 2 diabetes is in remission. What I did with that, I think I talked about it. I did a lot of praying when I first got the diagnosis for the willingness and for the willpower. I had the willingness, but I wanted the willpower. I wanted my will to be strong enough to lay off some of the foods that I shouldn't be eating. And then I spent a day or so grieving excessive foods that I shouldn't be. I went and I had like the biggest, hugest bacon burger with all sorts of stuff all over it, no vegetables. And I had baconated fries. It was at Wendy's. And I had like a big, huge shake, chocolate, And I think probably for about 2-3 days, I ate whatever the hell I wanted because I knew that it was kind of like a final hurrah of being like that gauche with my diet. I mean, yeah. And then, of course, I went on a very strict diet. I mean, I'm talking about none of this. I mean, it was all poached in water. Like a little bit of water, a little bit of poaching. That's it. No additional anything. And then I took up walking. And of course, I still walk around the neighborhood and everything. So, and overall, I lost 40 pounds. 40 pounds. So, and then, of course, now it fluctuates 10 up or 10 down, but I stay within a very healthy range. And, a lot of that depends upon how much you sweat, your, how you process your diet and everything like that. So, yeah, there again, there are ways to get healthy, and if we're fortunate enough that we can make those options, to be healthier, I'd say go for it because it'll help us live longer and happier and healthier lives. Love you. Bye.